Thanks, everybody. It's great to see you tonight. I can actually only see the front 5 people, but I'm glad the rest of you are here too. I'm Nathan Landis Funk, and that's Jessica Smucker.
I'm Jessica Smucker.
So we should clarify in case
Sorry,
that wasn't
missed my
clear.
cue already.
We're waiting. We're taking bets on who's going to mess up first. So anyway, welcome to the show. A little backstory to how we got here, because the show is sort of, I don't know, I think it's going to be a little unique as far as like singer-songwriter shows go. Basically, last summer I was Facebook stalking every local Lancaster musician to steal their trade secrets. And one of the artists I came across was Jessica Smucker. And her music stood out pretty quickly to me because I noticed like a lot of local artists, writing stuff about, romance and like big trucks and things like that. And then here's Jessica writing these like deep longing songs about like God and like pain and all these things. I was like, oh, I resonate with that, because I actually was in the middle of writing my own full-length singer-songwriter album about my like complicated relationship with God and faith and religion, all those sorts of things. And so not long after that, I joined this co-working space called the Candy Factory. It just so happened that Jessica was also a member here. And so I introduced myself, and after I managed to convince her that I wasn't just like a crazy internet stalker, we started swapping our stories and realized we had a lot in common. And we were like, hey, you know what? We should do a show together, because misery loves company. And so that brings us to tonight. Essentially, the format for tonight is we're going to be doing a song swap, which is like we're going to be taking turns doing original songs, and between them we're going to be weaving stories into them to bring you a evening, essentially, that'll be a journey through a shipwreck. Is kind of the theme of tonight.
And before we start, I want to, you know what, I thought that was a good idea, but it's going to distract me. I'm not going to be, like, don't play the piano.
We're going to cut the piano.
I can't talk and listen to
Acapella
music
only.
at the same time. I just want to acknowledge that Nathan and I both came from, grew up in Christian faith traditions, and that is going to come into a lot of what we talk about and sing about tonight. We've both spent a lot of time immersed in that, and also in self-imposed exile from it. Status is complicated. And we also just want to recognize and honor the diversity of this audience, and hope that no matter where you're coming from in your life, you will be able to relate to the human experience of trying to make sense of it. So without any more of that, we're going to start the section called Setting Sail. And I'm going to start with a song about the lure and power of stories. If you've spent much time writing, reading, or telling stories, you know that the drama can be very seductive, maybe even addictive. You reach a point where you need that story fix so badly that you start crossing the line between storyteller and story chaser. You start manipulating the world around you to heighten the drama. Little Miss Muffet isn't worth knowing when she's just sitting there eating her curds and whey. But when the spider sits down beside her, that's when we all want to know her name. So, what makes you interesting? Are you content to sit and wait for your story to find you? Or do you just go out looking for spiders?
Looking for water, it wasn't worth mentioning until they fell. the sweet spot between silly and sublime, following the rising action, falling hard every time, bending to the strangest arts. You write yourself into a nursery rhyme. You would trade your home and family for another life. You would rather be a legend than somebody's wife.
La 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 la.
Mary in the corner plot. She planted a garden just to let it all rot. 'Cause thistles choke and rabbits run and sunlight blinds her, and everything's another form of failure that defines her. What makes you interesting? How does your garden grow? And what's your best excuse for being all alone? And aren't there enough conundrums in this silly world?
Every classic story begins with a call to adventure. I would say my call to adventure, for the purposes of tonight's story, began May 16th, 2010. I was standing in a giant auditorium in Redding, California. Actually, correct, I was kneeling in an auditorium, being knighted by the pastors of the school I was graduating from. It was called Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. And yes, we did call it Christian Hogwarts. And I won't get into all the details exactly of what going to school like there was like, but I will tell you that I was 100% committed to everything I had learned there. And it's interesting looking back, because a couple of years ago I discovered I actually had a voice memo of the final words that the pastor prayed over us that day. He said, I pray they would remember this day, 10, 15, 20 years from now, God, how you sent them out into the world to make a difference. Boy, I was in for a ride from that point in time. But I was ready, essentially, to share what I'd learned and go for the gold, no matter what the cost. Still dark outside, but I don't mind. Gonna let those sleepers lie. I'm driving up to the mountains, following the sunrise. This road gets old and winding, but I know it like a friend. 'Cause I find myself here every time I get that fire again. Staring down the tunnel, no seeing what's within. But I love that smell of dusty, cool ambition. So I step in, and it's gotta go. It's gotta be here, feel it in my soul. Oh no, I won't go home, 'cause you never know when you're a foot from gold. Got a lot of friends who don't believe in some old gold rush story. And I don't mind, but I kind of find their lives just a little boring. I ain't got time for critics trying to undermine my dreams. If you sold your soul to mediocrity, don't you take it out on me. They say the best moves won't bring you no applause. They're greeted by yawns. So I'm keeping on, and it's gotta go. It's gotta be here, feel it in my soul. Oh no, won't go home, cause you never know when you're a foot from gold. Arms are swinging, ears are ringing, smoke rising all around. It gets hard to see, getting hard to breathe. The days rocks are raining down. When my fingers ache and the ceiling shakes, I got a song that brings me through, and I'll sing it out loud till the treasure's found. I'm gonna bring it on home to you. And it goes, oh, down I go. It's gotta be here, feel it in my soul. Oh no, won't go home, cause you never know when you're a foot from gold. It's oh, down I go. Gotta be here, feel it in my soul. Oh no, won't go home, cause you never know when you're a foot from. You never know when you're a foot from gold. You never know when you're a foot from gold. You never know when you're a foot from gold.
And now that we've set sail, we're going to go right into the storms. I was one of those lucky kids who grew up knowing that my parents loved me and they loved each other. I never worried about their relationship, and I would have had an easier time believing God wasn't real than that they would ever split up. So when the unthinkable happened, they separated when I was 29. I felt like my whole world was pulled out from under me. It was one of those catastrophic events that divides your whole life into before and after. Almost a year after they separated, we decided to gather for Christmas, all of us as a family, at their house in Arizona, where my dad now lived by himself. It was clear by then that they weren't getting back together, so we knew going in that it would be our last Christmas together as a family. I was simultaneously comforted and full of dread. There was just so much cognitive dissonance and so much heartbreak, and also a lot of other random things that were going on in my own life that were making me feel very complicated about the whole thing. On the way to Arizona with a suitcase full of nothing, lucid stories, tentative lies. I hope you don't mind, that's all I have got to offer. From the cockpit, the pilot's smooth voice, a shot of vodka from the waitress's tray. Hope is beyond me, the world's below me. From my seat I'm mapping out the landscape. The world is checkered fields and solid curving lines. The snowy mountains are sublime. I'm glad to live and bleed and sing most of the time. But if this plane would crash, I probably wouldn't mind. You love me best when I'm on a mission. Can you believe in my bad decisions? Everyone's grown up and moved away, but I'm still sitting in my little room begging you to play with me. We climb the rocks until we're 10,000 feet tall. Move with the panoramic scene. In Arizona, there's no safe
sun's fading, we're going extinct. We've got a few good years. I could survive if I'd stop caring what you think, but you are ever present as the tumbleweeds blowing all around me. It's like a movie screen that never fades to black. The climax reeling in our brains. We ride into the sunset, but the sunset hesitates. If you'd ever love me, you'd be singing my refrain. On the way home from Arizona, I close my eyes and try to sleep. Thank you.
Well, it wasn't long in my adventures in this big world outside of my Bible school that I realized there was a lot of other strong ideas floating around about how the world worked. The frustrating thing was that sometimes these ideas made sense. I found myself in Temple University in North Philly, and I remember one class called Media and Society. And one day the professor comes in, and he asked the question, how was it that you chose your favorite sports team? We did a vote, and we had determined by the end of the vote that nobody had chosen their favorite team because they had objectively researched the stats, because they had energy-efficient stadiums, or because their fans were nice. I mean, it's Philly, so that's a given. What it came down to, for the most part, was either A, you were from a certain place, or B, your friends and family cheered for a certain team, and you tended to follow suit. Once I started going down that rabbit hole, I started to wonder just exactly how many of my own beliefs had I come to simply because of convenience. That's where this song came out of. I solved all the problems of the world today. I sat in a coffee shop and typed them away. But I might not want other people to see. Someone might disagree with me. Sometimes I look at what's outside, but I like where I've drawn my line. So would you mind escorting me back to my ideal reality? I wanna go where I know every song they play, and I don't have to think about what people say. I wanna see what I wanna see take me. I wanna go where it's so easy to be. We got traditions in our family and they make me proud. Don't you think if we were wrong, we would have known by now? I'm sorry, but your story's inconvenient to me. Can't you see I'm happy in my apathy? Sometimes I think it might be nice to help build paradise, but I'm not sure I'd want to see these hands getting dirty. So take me. I want to go where I know every song they play, and I don't have to think about what people say. I want to see what I want to see take me. I want to go where it's so easy to be. Yeah, it's easy to be, easy to see, where everybody thinks just like me, where the grass is greener, streets are cleaner, and I don't have to think about the enemy, cause they humanize the other side. Well, I've never tried. Well, there's a place where I know every song they play, and I don't have to think about what people say. Where I can see what I wanna see, but no, should I go where it's so easy to
a
be?
place where I know every song
Where
they
it's
play,
easy
and
to
I don't
see.
have to think about what people say.
When everybody
I can
likes
see
me,
what I wanna see.
and everybody's
Take me, I
like
wanna
me,
go where it's so easy. A place where I know every song
when
they
everybody
play,
will
and I
agree
don't
with
have
me.
to think about what
Never
people
have to
say.
think about what I
can see
believe.
what I wanna see. Take me, I
No,
wanna go where
it
it's
seems
so
too easy to be. Well, now I wonder if we might start to see some commonality. If we go where it's not so easy to be.
Are we still in storms?
Yes.
We're still in the storms.
Still in chapter 2.
So there's nothing quite as disorienting to someone who's basically made a profession of weathering storms and getting lost as becoming a parent and having to weather those storms with little innocent people in tow. Most days I fear I'm getting it very wrong. When I wrote this next song, I had one child on the outside and one on the inside. And I was very struck with the differences between what each of them demanded of me. And I have to say that I was more okay with the second pregnancy lasting as long as it needed to. Because once they're outside in the world, you think that it sucks when you're pregnant, and then they get out in the world and it's every day, it's just more and more, I don't know what I'm doing. So this is when I was the weather.
If I could make the sun shine, you could go outside. You could run, I could hide. I don't wanna hold you, I'm too tired to chase you. I just need a place to cry. Once I was the weather, you couldn't see my eyes. My voice was like a thunder rumbling through your skies. When I was the weather, I knew just what to say. Now I fumble through my lines every single day. You're my perfect vision, the sun setting on my clouds. When I look at you, I know I can be proud. But there's no way around this. There's no settling of the score. I am less when you are more. Once I was the weather, and you could feel my sighs blowing like a warm wind, blowing through your skies. When I was the weather, I didn't have to pray. Now I get down on my knees every single day. single day.
Thank you.
Sometimes you step out in faith and everything works out. Other times, you find yourself awoken at 3 o'clock in the morning by 9 security guards in a prayer chapel in an airport in Johannesburg, South Africa. And these times make you wonder. I'll give you a backstory. Okay. So I was coming home from a missions trip in Durban, and hadn't bothered to double check what time my flight left from Durban to Johannesburg, which was then going to go to Paris. By the time I realized that I was basically late for my flight, we had gotten to the Durban airport and realized that I'd basically missed my flight. However, my friends and I, we believed in miracles, right? So we believed that if I hopped on the next flight, actually, there was a slim chance that I could make that original flight from Johannesburg to Paris. So, hopped on the flight, paddled the whole way to Joburg, basically, got off the plane, sprinted like an Olympian across the airport 3 times, but to check-in, back to get my luggage, back to check-in. It did seem like there was, in fact, like a tiny chance that I was going to be able to make it. In fact, there was even a guy there in a suit and tie who basically was like, yeah, we've been waiting for you. All right, I'm going to take you to your plane. And it wasn't until 20 minutes later, after he had bid farewell and had given him a large tip from the ATM, that I realized there's actually no closer to my plane than before. I realized I actually didn't have tickets, and that this man, in fact, was not an airport employee, but rather a scammer. Needless to say, I missed my flight, and with no Wi-Fi and no friends, I had to spend the next 24 hours in the Johannesburg airport, wondering, meditating on what exactly went wrong. Interrupted briefly by the security guards who were curious as to why I was in the prayer chapel. The truth was because I was told if I had went to the Muslim prayer chapel, I would have had to take off my shoes, and I wanted to keep my shoes. But it was experiences like this that made me ask this sort of difficult question that I kind of avoided at first, but eventually I had to face. What do you do when what you believe does not line up with reality? She greets the same friends every Wednesday, plays the same word games, they don't suspect a thing. She can't show the bullet holes in her soul, afraid of what they might say. He walks the stage, barely awake, didn't get much sleep last night, he won't say why. And doesn't believe a single word he speaks, but they applaud, and he preaches on. When you're stuck in a prison, dead-ended by your good intentions, you got in deep and you need a key. I heard of one that could set you free. Honesty, a little bit of authenticity. Say the words you really mean. Try a little bit of honesty. When you know that something's wrong, spirit's gone but the show goes on. You play a little puppet made out of pride when you've lost God, but keep the facade with questions you can't ask, cause you don't know where they lead. So you shroud them all in secrecy and bleed into your diary and bury all the evidence, afraid it won't make any sense. I've been there, my friend. And if you want some peace, you gotta try a little honesty to say what's really going on with me. We're so addicted to certainty, but have you tried a little honesty? Yeah, you can put it together if you don't see all the pieces and facts don't go away with make-believe. Well, the roots are sometimes bitter, but the fruit they grow is sweet, and the truth might not be pretty, but it always sets you free. Honesty, It takes a little bravery. You never know where the road could lead. But we all need a little honesty. Honesty, a little bit of authenticity. Sometimes I wonder what the world could be with a little more honesty. Honesty, just say what you're thinking when you're stuck and you need a key. But why don't you try a little honesty?
You guys ready to get shipwrecked?
Someone
Who's
is.
ever ready to get shipwrecked? That's
some of us
not
are.
part of the plan.
Some, you know what's coming. The really deep part.
Ever find yourself in the right relationship at the wrong time? Or maybe the relationship is all wrong, but you really wish it felt right. Or is it your family and friends that are making things feel complicated? They filled your head with do's and don'ts and anything, sorry, and truisms that don't feel true. Whatever the case, you know you can't continue to function in the relationship until you figure some things out on your own. But breaking it off feels risky and sad, because what if this turns out to be the love of your life and you blew it? Well, sometime in my 20s, I realized that this was the status of my relationship with God or Jesus or whatever I was doing at the time. And some of it was that my church, bad actors, and religious pain, lots of people do bad things, and then it gets complicated and you feel like you have to just throw out the whole thing. And so while I was trying to process all of that, I wrote a Dear John letter to Jesus. And in the 17 years or so since I wrote this song, it has followed me through many, many different emotional and spiritual moods. Sometimes it's a comedy special. Sometimes it's a pissed off rant. Sometimes it's a sincerely tragic love story. And sometimes it's a prayer. Listen, Jesus, I don't mean to throw your love away. You're a good guy, you've got pretty eyes and some witty things to say. But I've been walking through these streets alone, through quiet nights and silver rains. I put my faith in things like gravity. It has your force without the name. You've been true, but I need more than promises of doom. It's the 21st century. If you keep telling me how you bled for me, well then you're just another bearer of bad news. Your broken body on the shelf for me, it's the last thing that I need. When all my friends have left the bar at night, and you are all that still remains.
a bad girl. I've just got too much going on. I tried, but you just stand there, holding out your hand. The saddest part is, I really do think you'd understand.
Thank you.
So, the song I'm going to play, Jessica and I have talked about it a little bit because I guess you could say in some ways I also wrote something like a Dear John letter to Jesus, although I didn't know what Dear John meant. Jessica had to explain that to me. That was like a generational difference. I don't know. Didn't you say that? I didn't say that.
I'll acknowledge we're from a different generation.
I don't know. Are we? How many years are we apart? 15?
Something like that.
I don't know. Listen, we're in a deep part here. Okay. So I guess Jessica made a point though when we were talking about comparing the song that she just played with the song I'm about to play is that like I might have been standing in the same place, but I was looking in a different direction. Why I would set this song is it was summer 2014, and I was sitting in a worship service in West Philly, and I just realized like I was totally disconnected from everything that was going on in the service. I was wondering if I was just being emotionally manipulated by the worship music, and I was wrestling with all these questions that I'd like gotten from college, like why is it that Africa and South America fit together like puzzle pieces on a map? Or why is it that like theta brainwave healers have a lot in common with like the healing evangelists that I would follow? Or why was it that I could write characters into a musical and have conversations with them in my head the same way that I talk to God? And I realized that in that moment, like nothing that I was doing felt honest to me. And so I got out my journal during the service and I began to write a song using words that I felt like I could say to God. Don't feel a thing but cold, and the sound of singing gets old. When words won't fill this void in my soul, and I trade all my answers to just feel whole. And the promises I staked my life on don't hold strong beyond these four walls. Wave on the sea, the wind tossing me between faith and reality. What can I say? What can I say? Let God be true, and everyone else a liar. Let God be true, and everyone else a liar. Oh God, it's you. Destination of desire, it's you. I'll pursue. When I wish for the days when the path is so clear, far away from this wasteland, how did it lead here? Haunted by old promises, enchanted by my dreams. Am I the only one whose faith has come apart at the seams? Everyone else a liar, let God be true. Everyone else a liar, oh God, it's you. Destination of desire, it's you. All pursue. I confess, Lord, I don't have all the right words. I'm sure I got it wrong on some particulars. But at the end of my days, if all that I can say is that I lived in love, I hope that's good enough for you. 'Cause I think that's who you are. Let God be true. Everyone else a liar. Let God be true. Everyone else a liar. Oh God, it's you. Destination of desire. It's you. It's you. I'll pursue. You all pursue.
So now the storms have passed, and we've salvaged what we could of our wrecked ship, and now we're adrift at sea. There's a connection I want to make between being adrift at sea and letting love be your guide, but I'm too disoriented to make it, so I'm just going to put those two things out there and let you
Figure
think
it out.
about them. I wrote this next song soon after I became a mother. I was thinking about how having a family had brought a new sense of meaning to my life, but also a deepened sense of anxiety and dread. When I brought my children into the world, I gave them life, but because I think about these things, I also sentenced them to death because everything in life, love, joy, pain, life itself, is temporary. And how do we throw ourselves fully into life and into love while holding the knowledge that we will eventually lose it all? It's a really hard thing to do, to hold that reality of what's coming with the beauty of the present and not feel overwhelmed. So I chose the imagery of the ocean as the backdrop for this song because the ocean is tumultuous and complicated, gentle and destructive in turns. We depend on it, and yet we can't entirely trust it not to obliterate us. So this is the sea. I'll try to do a better job counting you in this time.
I'm down for whatever.
I have listened for God in the ear of a shell. I have wrestled the tides and argued against the groundswell. Bargained with the deep blue, I don't want to lose you. This is me facing my fear. Even if we drown, I'm happy that I found you here. I'm yours today. Hold me while the sky is full. Tomorrow you will drift away. Sure as the moon shimmers and is full. Tomorrow you will drift away, sure as the moon shimmers and fades. As I listen for God in the ear of his shell, don't know much, but I know that I've loved you well.
So, when you're adrift at sea, where do you go? Basically, wherever the water takes you. For me, this landed me my first post-college job at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. Okay, I know there's some of you here. Come on. You're all ashamed. Okay. And I realized that escaping my church life, being at fair and all that, wasn't necessarily going to solve all my problems. It turned out there were people out there in the world that could piss me off too. Not you, don't worry, it's fine. Of course, being the good Canadian Mennonite that I was, of course, I wasn't going to risk open conflict by, confronting anybody about a disagreement we may have. So instead, I channeled all of my rage into a song. We go to bona fide ace of keeping people in place. No greater commentator on the human face. God's a crowd of admirers. You must be proud. Yeah, blood always draws a crowd. Well, I've known you for a while, then I call you my friend. But there comes a time to draw the line and put these two an end. Being your victim wasn't part of my plan, and wits are not the only way to measure a man. I know you're hurt, and so am I. I'd like to take a little time to remind you that you and I live under the same blue sky. Both got our needs, our faults and dreams, got pain we're trying to hide. So tell me why we can't do this at each other's side. Oh brother, we're all just trying to get by. Well, it's true, my dear, it was a surprise after spending so much time inside each other's lives. Suddenly waking up to see there's a black hole between you and me. Now I know we disagreed, but would you tell me why it's necessary that we see eye to eye? Sure, it may be easier believing I'm evil, but I think that's a little medieval. No, I don't know what you've been through, it's true. But I'd learn what I could if you're willing to. Yeah, you and I live under the same blue sky. Both got our needs, our faults and dreams, got pain we're trying to hide. So tell me why we can't do this at each other's side. Oh, sister, we're all just trying to get by. All right, folks, I know there's a couple people in this audience who know this song. I know you're out there. This next part is impossible to sing, but I have seen people sing to this part before. So, if you feel so inclined, surprise your neighbor, all right? Here we go. And if we do this together, it'll be okay. Might be cliche, but let's do it anyway. If we do this together, it'll be okay. Might be cliche, but let's do it anyway. If we do this together, it'll be okay. Might be cliche, but let's do it anyway. If we do this together, it'll be okay. Might be cliche, but let's do it anyway. Cause every time I find a way between you and me, it's a reminder to the world that we're a family. Every time I find a way between you and me, it's a reminder to the world that we're a family. Every time I find a way between you and me, it's a reminder to the world that we're a family. Every time I find a way between you and me, it's a reminder to the world that we're a family. Yeah, you and leaving to the same blue sky. Both got our needs of faults and dreams, got pain we're trying to hide. Tell me why we can't do these at each other's side. Brother, we're all just trying to get by. Sister, we're all just trying to get by. Everyone is all just trying to get by.
I have to say, it's a real pleasure to be on the stage with a much better piano player than myself. No, but I mean, they noticed that I'm not playing on your stuff.
Yeah, but you write better lyrics.
Whatever.
I can write a song called When It Was the Weather.
Should we send out a survey and have...
Well, so, on your way out, please see the forms. Stage right.
In all seriousness, I think everybody who performs music has a whole different set of strengths and weaknesses, and it's really cool when you can find somebody to play with that sort of balances out some of the things that you're not as good at.
And that's why we have a mailing list that you have to sign up to both of ours, not just one.
But don't worry, we make it really easy to unsubscribe.
Yeah.
So if you secretly only want to be on one of them, we understand.
Size 5 font on the very bottom.
I mean, we do get notified when you unsubscribe, so, you know.
I'll call you up. Man, where are we?
Putting the pieces back together.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So during the first few months of the pandemic, I kept having this recurring thought. What if the world already ended and we just haven't realized it yet? All was kind of well in my household. My husband and I were both able to keep working, and I was both comforted and frustrated by a lot of extra time with the kids. We could find lots of things to complain about, but truth be told, we had everything we needed. Because I was home all the time, and the kids were home all the time, and there were toys all over the floor all the time, I started thinking about dinosaurs. We know that the asteroid ultimately caused their extinction, but how many generations of dinosaurs lived and died in the 100 and 1,000 years after the initial impact? So if you were a dinosaur born 100 or 1,000 years after the kill shot was fired on your species, would you be thinking about the apocalypse? Probably not. You'd be thinking, how do I live? Where do I find food? How do I care for my family? Probably just be trying to live your life. We'd like to dedicate this one to Anne, since she told us we can't do the show unless we play it.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. Hope we make you proud.
I always thought the world would end with blood and bones. But here we are, hunkered down in a home sweet home. I love you more without the crowds drawing me out. I've got everything I need inside this house. Maybe our hope is lost. Maybe the dinosaurs live for 1,000 years after the meteor. But if the jig is up, if this is all we've got, baby, I'm glad I cast my lot with you.
which is hard. Everything I see is red. Learning to live my life without a future in my head. I love you more since the clocks all stopped. We've got everything we need to stay alive until we're not. Maybe your hope is lost. Maybe the dinosaurs live for 1,000 years after the meteor. What if the jig is up? If this is all we've got, baby, I'm glad I cast my lot with you. Maybe your hope is lost. Maybe the dinosaurs live for 1,000 years after the meteor. But if the jig is up, if this is all we've got, baby, I'm glad I cast my lot with you. Maybe your hope is lost. Maybe the dinosaurs live for 1,000 years after the meteor. But if the jig is up, if this is all we've got, baby, I'm glad I cast my lot with you.
I love dinosaurs too.
Wait, you love dinosaurs like the creature, or
You can take that however you want. When it comes to putting the pieces back together after a shipwreck, of course, everyone's different, but the people who have been willing to share their stories with me that sort of follow a similar trajectory as tonight, I found an interesting trend in that there's kind of this period that a lot of people take of like inventorying, where you take some of the pieces of what you had before and you combine them with new treasures and things that you've collected along the way, and then hopefully when you put them together, it becomes something that is seaworthy. And this next song, I think, is sort of an example of that. I recorded the first draft of this 9 years ago, and as my perspectives changed and I became a better songwriter, hopefully, I changed a few lyrics, I gutted the whole chorus, I changed the title of the song, but I think that the essence of the song has stayed the same through all that. I think that's been special to me, to be able to tie my past to my present together, because really, it's almost like there's never been a time in my life where the message of this song hasn't been relevant to me. Walking down that same old road again, knocking on every door, but they still won't open. I had so many plans, I thought the world was in my hands, but for all I've tried, I'm still stuck outside. Clock's ticking and it echoes in my soul. wind blows, the evening's getting colder. I see a little smile, the door's open for a little while, but it's not a home, then I'm back to roaming. I retrace the pathways of my past days. I wonder if they've added up to nothing. But then I steal my mind at the fading of the daylight, and I see you smile and I hear you sing.
Come here, child, lay your head down. You don't have to have it figured out right now. Stay near, child, put those cares away. They can always wait for another day. Sometimes you just need to say you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
I hate the way that time can rob you blind. Blink an eye and 5 more days slip by. And all the while I see these ghosts of my dreams so close to me, but I know my destiny can't save me. So when the chill sets in and I'm praying for the spring, you come to me and sing.
Come here, child, lay your head down. You don't have to have it figured out right now. Stay near, child, put those cares away. They can always wait for another day. Sometimes you just need to say you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Take joy on the journey. Don't you worry about tomorrow. Everything you need is here right now. So breathe in and be grateful for today. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Take joy on the journey. Don't you worry about tomorrow. Everything you need is here right now. So breathe in and be grateful for today. You'll be okay.
Be okay.
You'll be okay.
I'll be okay.
Come
Boy on the
here, child.
Don't you
Lay
worry
it
about
down.
tomorrow.
You don't have to have it
Everything is
figured
here
out
right
right
now.
now. Stay near, child.
And be grateful.
Put those cares away. You can always wait for another day. Sometimes you just need to say.
Sometimes you just need to say.
Sometimes you just need to say. You'll be okay.
I'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
Thank you, everybody, so much for going deep with us tonight. This is a thing that we do in our own writing, but we rarely get to perform before an audience that is just listening and absorbing, and I'm very grateful for that. Want to thank the Candy Factory for hosting this, and the idea is that this is going to be a monthly series, so please keep an eye out for upcoming shows. Also, just want to say, we have 2 more songs for you, by the way. So, in case you're like, how long is she going to talk? How much are they going to do? Also want to say we do have some merch. For those of you who still listen to CDs, we have CDs. For those of you who use streaming apps, we all know that artists don't really get paid from streaming, but I want to say this as an artist, I still encourage you to use streaming, but do it actively. Follow the channels, follow whatever it is of the artist that you like, because those things do make a difference. They alter the algorithms, and then more people happen upon the music instead of having to go out of their way to listen to it. And that eventually, over many, many months and years and money spent on advertising, it does start to bring something back to us. Also want to say we have, like Nathan said, we have a mailing list over there that we're gonna split. I send out emails maybe once a month. I'm not gonna spam you. What were the other points I wanted to make sure to say?
I want to give a
Didn't miss
shout out to the
anything.
live stream folks. Hey, everybody on the live
Yeah.
stream. I don't know if we've acknowledged you yet, but I know there's a bunch of Canadians who showed up for the live stream, so thank you. My auntie is in BC, and I heard some folks are in Saskatchewan and stuff. So, by the way, some of you probably saw there's some merch there. It's actually made by my childhood friend Chris, who runs Frosty Forge. He made the anchors and the keychains there. He's also the guy responsible for the percussion sounds in the CD version of Foot from Gold. So, I think if you're live streaming and you're like, my gosh, I really want those anchors, but I can't get them in Canada, Chris is probably going to post a link for you because he said he'd do it.
And also, thanks to Jason for setting up the live stream here. And I feel like it's definitely the most high-tech live stream I've done. I hope it sounds good. I'm looking forward to listening to it later, or maybe I'm not. I don't
Everyone's
know.
like, man, we shouldn't have even come here. We just stay at home. Better quality sound.
But all right, I think I've said everything I want to say. And
Let's do a song.
yeah. All right.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not blind, but I wanted to be, to wrap myself inside a dark cocoon, the land of the free. I get so tired of the undertow of all the things that can't let go. Oh, 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 there is nothing we can do or say to make the river flow the opposite way. We're spending all the time these days just learning how to be okay. Good things will come and go, but the blues are here to stay. We're high and dry, we're down and out, digging through the trash for something that's worth singing about. The wild geese are heading south. You and I are living hand to mouth. Oh, 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 there is nothing we can do or say to make the river flow the opposite way. So I dance alone in the dark at night. Forgive myself when I can't find the light. Oh, 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 there is nothing we can do or say to make the river flow the opposite way. We're spending all the time these days just learning how to be okay. Good things will come and go, but the blues are here to stay. So I rip the joy from the mouth of pain and wander through the streets and look for hidden music under everything. I can feel the beat in the pouring rain. I can follow the sound of a passing train. Oh, 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 there is nothing we can do or say to make the river flow the opposite way. The sooner we accept this life, the sooner we'll be okay. Things will come and go, but the blues are here to stay. Things will come and go, but the blues are here to stay. Things will come and go, but the blues are here to stay.
Thank you so much.
Last chapter. Finding a way home. With a story like tonight's, we know that home is not going to look the same for everyone, and so we're not going to try to define that for you. And if you were even to literally ask me, all right, Nathan, what's your life like these days? What do you think of all this? I literally spent most of 2020 writing a book about all this, and it's past some of your all's bedtime, so we're not going to do like a book reading right now. But I'm going to try to tie up tonight's story a little bit with this last song. On May 16th, 2020, on the 10-year anniversary of the pastor's prayer, I released the first version of a song called Here's to the Sojourners. And I like to think that in a way, it's continuing that journey of making a difference in the world through sharing music and stories like tonight. Of course, it's not by telling anyone what to think, but by simply acknowledging the times that we do shipwreck, and when we doubt and we feel lost and alone. Because I think oftentimes we think we're looking for the answers, but more often than not, I think what we're really looking for is just to know that we're not alone on the journey. Packed an old beater with faith and some clothes, drove 3,000 miles to the coast. No plan to fall back on, they threw it all in to follow a calling. They took in the teaching, their hearts set ablaze, dreamed of the lives they would change. Hope in their eyes as they said their goodbyes, headed off for the front line. In a map on the wall, yeah, the world seems so small when your eyes are closed tight, knelt by the candlelight, everything seems right. You went for it all. So here's to the sojourner searching for shore, who set out to sea on a journey for more. Here's to the
souls with the stories untold. May the wind fill their sails and carry them home. It wasn't so long in the malls and the street till the battles piled up with no victory. Rent overdue or a boy with a tumor is stuck on these promises never come true, and the doubts creep in like cracks in the ceiling. You've lost all your zeal and the wounds have stopped healing. They grow like a cancer, these questions unanswered. There's no one to take them away. You wish you could be an innocent sheep, but you'll never be whole if you can't face your soul. So you go into the unknown. So here's to the sojourners searching for shore, who set out to sea on a journey for more. Here's to the souls with the stories untold. May the wind fill their sails and carry them home. Carry them home.
Carry them home.
To all those who are seeking a haven, who carry the faith across oceans untaken. To those who have left an old world behind, who have lost sight of shore for a very long time, who ride into storms with their sails unfurled to the glorious shipwreck, the seeking worlds, carry them home. Carry them
Thank you, everyone. That's our show.
Great show, everyone.
We will be friendlier after the show than we were before.
Yeah. Have a good night.